Welcome to Take It from the Ironwoman. My name is Susanne Müller, your host and the Ironwoman. This podcast is about empowering yourself and others to make real changes in the world. You will hear from everyday, smart, sophisticated, hip people like you and me. Not everybody has to be an Ironwoman to impress the world. Together, we will learn from the sports and business leaders how you can become a more successful person as an entrepreneur or a leader. It's one step at a time, one day at a time. Take your steps now. Take your big steps now. Join me on this journey to success. Take it from the Ironwoman. We only have special guests, and today we go to Mimi. Mimi and I met through the EDsnaps, which is the organization who focus on STEM learners to become STEM leaders. Mimi, introduce yourself. Where are you today and what can we learn from you? Tell us your story.
Thank you for having me. Hello, everyone. I'm currently living in the Bronx, New York. I'm a college student. Currently, I just finished my junior year. My major is English with a minor in journalism. The thing about me is I love storytelling. I've always loved telling stories, poems, creative stories, short stories. One of my favorite subjects in high school from middle school has always been English because I love to write and analyzing the text that we read in class. And it's really has been a love that has grown on me and honestly pushed me towards my major in college now. Even in college, there's a lot of rigorous learning and a lot of like taking apart and analyzing the text. And it's really like, I feel like I've learned so much. This semester, I learned a lot with critical theory and how you can analyze and write analysis through critical theories. I just learned so much and I'm so grateful to and privileged to be able to learn as much as I've learned this semester.
Tell us a little bit about that analytical piece. I'm curious. I need to learn too. Obviously, English is not my first language. I took critical thinking or writing and I enjoyed it because you can always learn. But what specifically did you learn? Do you have an example for us?
In one of my courses, English 300, we would read texts and try to find critical theories behind the text. For example, there's a book called M. Butterfly. It's one of my favorite books that I've read throughout the whole year, honestly. So basically, there's the story behind M. Butterfly is that there's a character, Song, and he takes on this like the embodiment of Eastern woman to have a relationship with Gallimard, who's a Western. He sort of like comes over to the East to do something, but one of the most important things about the story is the relationship between both of them, because it displays a dynamic and of the West and the Oriental like East. And we use the critical theories Edward said to really dismantle the story and just take it apart and really analyze it through the lens of how the West is seen and how the East is seen and how both of the characters take on that role of being the conqueror, which is like stereotypically the West. And also like another theory is gender theory and how Song sort of takes up the role as a woman and Gallimard takes up the role as a man. But Gallimard doesn't know that Song is actually a man portraying a woman, dressing up as a woman. It's such a mind-boggling, it's so interesting. And I love like writing my analyst piece on it because like the teacher would try to get me to like think deeper on why are these stories so important. And they're important because they really reflect and dismantle what we know as individuals in the society that we live in. And it really tells us the truth about how we live our lives and how we should like as individuals should like how we should learn from each other. And just I just found this story so interesting. You can look around you and you see remnants of how societal pressures have really allowed people to conform.
So is it about conforming or non-conforming in a way when I'm listening to you?
it's kind of like challenging what it's made, what society has made us believe, and how we can try to like not conform to them, and also like analyze how we do conform, because we don't know. Sometimes we do things and we think we're challenging it, but we're just playing into the roles that's been assigned to us.
Well, in a way or form, we have to conform in order to live in a society. When you think of New York, if everybody, people say you have to think outside of the box. But if everybody thinks outside of the box, then who does the work inside the box?
Yeah. I was thinking, especially like the capitalism, it's not really like the best system, and people are impoverished because of it. But it's so ingrained in society that in order to literally live your life and survive, you have to take up a job. You have to do so many things just to survive.
Mm-hmm. So then what would you do if you didn't have to work? Obviously, you're still in school, but what would you like to do?
I want to say I would write. I would write all day. And when I'm not writing, if I'm really in that mood of like procrastination and just not really feeling the need to be perfect all the time, I would read or just go out and be with people. Because there's stories all over. You could find stories anywhere, even when you're talking with your family.
And everybody has a cool story. I'm always enamored when you take the subway in New York City, you look at every person's face and I'm like, what is their story?
Yeah.
Right?
I think
Everybody has
that.
a different story. Nobody has the same story. And when you said you, from early on, you would like to read and write, was there any pivotal moment or any special book or something that you read that was so important to you?
Oh my gosh. In middle school, I used to watch these love stories. I would try to like emulate them. So I would write my own like love stories. It was bad. I still have the book, which is I wrote it on one of those notebooks, the composition notebooks. Yeah, I was like deep in it. I was writing. I feel like that was the first like spark that came to me, like, oh wow, I love doing this. And it's just the ideas are just pouring out of me. But yeah, I still have the book, and sometimes I will go through it when I'm looking for something like a document. I'm like, oh my gosh, this book, and I'm reading it. I'm just like cringing because oh my god, this is terrible. Now that I've grown, like I know what to like do better and what to how to be a better writer. But like back then, I'm just like sitting back and realizing like at that age, I thought this was the best story I've ever written.
Yeah.
And I was so excited.
And how so is it so bad? Maybe this would be a story from then and a story from now. You could write your book. This sounds cool.
Yeah, the grammar was off, the characterization, there was a lot that was off, but there is a story in it. There's a story, and I'm proud of myself for having the story despite the grammar and just the poor characterization. But yeah.
Can you embellish it now that all the tips and tricks, so you can make it as a real story?
Yeah, yeah. I
Right?
could
It's
definitely
already
do that.
there.
Yeah. Just tweak some things and just yeah.
Yeah. And in the near future, are you writing a book or what is your dream?
Honestly, I feel like I at first I wanted to be a writer, and I still do. I still want to be a writer. I still want to write my own books because I write short stories and I write poems sometimes. And I would definitely like to write a book, but I also want to be a journalist in a way, like write journalistic pieces. So just sort of adding a layer of connection to the current present world and just tell stories that people can relate to. And not that I think that like journalistic pieces are more interesting than like creative writing is, but I honestly want to do that and write books. And currently, I'm also thinking about being a professor, an English professor. I don't know why I wouldn't. At first, I always used to think that I would be like a high school teacher, but I don't think I could deal with high school students. I would not want to deal with no. But yeah, college, like a college professor is one of the things that I would want to be.
And how much does it take? So you need to finish your college degree? master's degree and PhD. Is that the way to go?
Yeah, there's also like the educational route of it. There's I need to go and like really take a look on it. It's just something that sparked in my mind, but I need to do like a research into it.
And for the listeners, any cool books that you would recommend that you absolutely have to read, or any of your favorites that you like to share?
Definitely M. Butterfly by Henry Hwang. I can't really say the last name. This is my favorite book out of the whole year. I would also recommend Coraline, which is my favorite book ever. Honestly, those are the two books. I've always loved Coraline. It's always been like, it reminds me of like the freedom of childhood, and just, I love the movie itself. And Butterfly is just a book that I just love throughout the whole year.
I think this is very insightful. I want to look up those books. And I always write a blog each year towards the end of the year of the books that I've been reading. And I know there's other people who post there what they have read. And I'm always like, that's why I'm asking on those recommendations. The question that I always ask, like, what do you do when you don't work or when you don't go to school?
Disassociate.
Okay.
Honestly, I listen to a lot of music, and when I'm listening to a lot, I like to daydream a lot. Honestly, I'm more of an introvert, so I like to stay in my room a lot. I would listen to music, and sometimes ideas of books and just like for writings would pop in my head just by listening to music, just by being on my own. I just love that. I feel like I do need to like go outside. Obviously, everybody needs to go outside more, but I definitely need to go outside more often than like I do, because there are stories outside. Usually when I'm outside, I'm going to my classes or I'm going to the store, and I really enjoy the walks. But more, I prefer staying inside and just listening to music and just brainstorming and daydreaming about what I want to write about.
And they say daydreaming is actually very important to be more creative. And my photography professor said, since I was writing a blog and then I took up photography, he says, if you do one creative element, you do another one, you add another one, then those merge in a way. I think the music and the writing is actually fantastic. It's a fantastic tip for the listeners to maybe listen to more music and daydream, and then you can write your own book. So we wish you good luck for your studies.
Thank you so much.
One day we'll see Professor Mimi and we can all take a class with you. I'm looking forward to that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a college professor in the making. Let's see how that will pan out. Take it from the Ironwoman. We have episodes every Monday. Don't miss out. Cool stories from young listeners, young people that we can learn and grow, but also support them. And Take It from the Ironwoman is also the book, Global Business Coaching with Sports Parallels. Get it in your local bookstore, shop local, and shop local. Thank you so much for your support. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.